Welcome to our show again.
What a pleasure to see you. As always, there's so much going on in the news right now. Of course, we saw Vladimir Zelensky come to Capitol Hill, to the White House, to meet with President Joe Biden and with Congress.
This is for the third time he was in the White House this year, and the two leaders have met 6 times.
Right.
This year.
And of course, there's this tension going back and forth between President Joe Biden, the majority of the Senate, and then the extreme right.
A government shutdown is again looming large.
Unfortunately, it looks like it. And I mean, for what? I mean, how many times have we had a government shutdown? And what has it ever accomplished except raise?
It looks like it's become a routine affair. We have been covering this administration, this government for the last 10, 15 years, the White House and the Congress. And every year, every alternate year, we see that.
It's so sad.
It used to be a rarest of the rare occasions, government shutdown earlier, right?
Right.
Now it has become a routine affair.
And weirdly enough, we're not even negotiating about a budget over a year. We're just talking about a CR, or continuing resolution, just to get over the hump of just the short-term budget impasse until a better deal can be negotiated. And even now, this Freedom Caucus, or this little faction of less than 20 Republicans, is just holding up the entire House. Now, of course, there have been members of the House Democrats who said to Kevin McCarthy, why not talk to us? We'll work with you. We'll make this happen. But Kevin McCarthy is afraid that he's going to lose his job if he negotiates, which is actually what you're supposed to do if you're in a parliamentary system, is to negotiate, to find compromise.
Yeah, talks is the only way. At the end of the day, even if the government shutdown happens, they will have to come together and find a resolution to it. So why not do it now?
Exactly. And here's the irony of all this, and that is that government shutdown punishes the people least deserving of being punished. Those in the military would be furloughed. These are people that still have to show up for duty and risk their lives, and yet they're not going to get paid. Meanwhile, this small faction of hard right Republicans, they'll get paid. It's really very sad.
Yeah, every time the government shutdown happens, only essential items, essential department or wings function. Rest of them don't, right?
Right.
And it has a huge impact not only on the function of the government but economy as well.
In fact, we saw with Fitch that they actually lowered the credit rating in the United States a bit. The United States cannot afford to have its credit rating lowered. Now, it's still the most solid currency. The United States dollar is still the most solid currency in the world. But what kind of message does this send? And also, the House Republicans, in this hard right faction, not every House Republican, certainly the chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, Republican, doesn't want to do this, but McCall doesn't want to do this, but there is a faction of Republicans that want to halt all aid to Ukraine, which is just astonishing. I mean, this is such a flip, such a reversal of American politics. It used to be the Republicans that would stand up strong to the Russians, but now it's the Democrats that are doing this. I don't know why this flip is happening, but I guess we live in this pendulum in the where one party seems to go one way and then it flips to another.
Yeah, you're right. Whoever is the opposition party, they oppose just for the sake of it. Because they have to oppose, that's why they're opposing it.
That's true. I hate to say it, but even at the White House we see that. We see that with certain people that take positions only for partisan ends. And here's the weird thing about all this, is that we've got issues that really affect people and workers. For instance, we have the UAW strike. And President Biden, who is arguably the most pro-union president that we've had in decades, hasn't announced plans to go to Michigan. Meanwhile, right after our Friday Roundup, President Biden tweeted that he will go to Michigan. And former President Trump is going to Michigan and is going to take a hold of the optics as though he is more in line with the workers than President Joe Biden, which, if you look at issues, policy by policy, is just not the case. But the optics mean everything in politics.
Good that you mentioned about former President Trump. He is going to Michigan. He will be skipping the second Republican primary debate one more time.
which is astonishing. I mean, I guess if you were a strategist for former President Trump, you would say, why would we go on stage and be attacked by the likes of Chris Christie, who's a very, very good litigator. He was, after all, a former prosecutor. And I mean, former President Trump has right now the overwhelming majority of primary voters. Now,
in the
Republican Party. Now, the thing is I don't see how he wins in the general election. However, Michigan, we're only talking about a handful of states that will decide this election. And Michigan voters are critically important. So I'm doubly astonished that President Biden hasn't hopped on an airplane immediately to go and meet with the workers in Michigan. And also, he has been trying to work out a compromise deal between workers and automobile executives. There is so much to talk about. For instance, automobile executives have enjoyed about a 40% pay hike. Meanwhile, workers haven't seen their wages after inflation decrease in the last 10 years. So yes, are they deserving of a pay hike? It seems absolutely they do. Now, the companies have offered a 21% pay hike, which is half of the 40% due. Now, also workers are asking for other things, which there's just no way automobile companies are going to support. So, for instance, there was a deal in the 1980s for workers, if they were laid off, to be paid for not working. And that just flood of cash to unpaid workers almost devastated the industry. Another thing that former President Trump is grabbing onto is about the investments in EVs or electric vehicles, which the auto union says, no, we want the money, not investment in the future. Well, you know, we live in a technological age. If you don't invest in the future, you don't have a company. So they have to, I mean, that's just not going to go. There's no way that's going to happen. But do they deserve a pay raise? I mean, if we're in the sacred circle of reasonableness, of what is reasonable, there's no way that this thing is going to end without a significant pay hike for the workers.
Yeah, they definitely need a pay raise. It's long due.
A significant pay raise. That's absolutely right.
The last 1 year, inflation is going up and up. It's not slowing down. It has a huge impact on people's grocery and kitchen, the bread and butter thing.
Well, we've been living in a very unusual time where it seemed as though the laws of economics just didn't apply, where the inflation just hovered near zero. And that just doesn't seem to be the case anymore. It's the Fed and Jerome Powell kind of indicated that we're not going to get to low interest rates as we had before. It's not going to happen. But they're fighting like anything in order to get there. And I mean, there are only so many tools that the Fed has in order to deal with this.
Right.
So
we were talking so far about on the domestic issues. What else? What we have on the phone?
Well, we have this incredibly fraught issue between Canada and India, where Justin Trudeau has personally accused Prime Minister Modi of India of having executed a Canadian citizen, a Sikh nationalist. And now, Prime Minister Trudeau has not provided any evidence of his claim. And the Indian government denies the charge. Now, weirdly, I think, they've said, well, this Sikh nationalist was a terrorist.
Right.
But I'm not sure why they think that. I mean, just because one has a political view doesn't make you a terrorist necessarily.
No, he was espousing the cause of the separate.
That's correct.
One, and sitting in Canada, he was targeting people for terrorist attack. Yeah, planning.
Oh, he was doing that. Okay.
The country.
Yeah.
That's the reason why India's National Security Agency had declared as a terrorist.
Okay, so he was doing that.
Yeah,
okay.
but it doesn't mean that Indian government was involved in any kind of a attack on him. As we have seen in the Canadian press, other press as well, there have been different gang wars between the Sikh separatist groups themselves.
And of course, we remember when Indira Gandhi was murdered by...
We have seen those gang wars happening in Canada, happening in San Francisco, and various gurdwaras in the US as well.
Right.
So we have to see what kind of evidence the Canadian Prime Minister has. But as of now, India is fuming, and India thinks that it is quite unreasonable, absurd to make such a high-level allegations. If he has any proof, he should come out with it as soon as possible.
He must.
Shouldn't delay that, because the large number of people of Indian origin, Indian Canadians, are living in Canada, and any kind of disruption of relationship between the two countries is going to impact people-to-people relations.
Amen. That's absolutely true.
Okay.
It is
People will not
incumbent
travel to their country.
on Prime Minister Trudeau.
Large number of Indian students are living in Canada. Large number of Indian techies are living in Canada, providing a lot of economic benefits to the country. So that will have a rupture. Another important part is that at a time when the West, US President Biden and the entire West is trying to bring India on its own fold. Remember, India has a non-aligned strategic independence thing, right? It has never been in any alliance, part of any alliance.
Right.
But President Biden has gone out of his way to try and bring India to his fold so that they can collectively have a collective fight against Chinese aggression and Russia aggression. And if this happens, if the way that Canada has acted and behaved, it will have a permanent division between the West and India, and the fight against China would have a big setback.
Yes, and Russia too. I mean, because it's been non-aligned, but President Biden...
Yes, the country which tilts the balance between the two groups.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
That's correct. And President Biden, but this is the reason why President Biden had this amazing state dinner for Prime Minister Modi. This reason was because it's strategically so important.
Not only this, India is saying that the Canadian government, at least this Prime Minister, has been supporting and not taking any action against Sikh separatist leaders who have been not only demanding a separate Sikh Khalistan state inside India, but also encouraging terrorist activities inside the country. They have been, in the last few months, you have seen these separatists coming out with posters openly asking that the Indian diplomat should be killed, assassinated, and no action has been taken against those terrorist groups. So India has its own thing to say against Canada. If Canada has anything, they should come out with those.
They must. I mean, such a serious charge has to be backed up with evidence. I mean, just on a personal level. And oftentimes countries behave like individual people. If you accuse somebody of murder, you just said, well, where's the evidence? Don't just say it.
Yeah.
So it's incumbent on Trudeau to do that. And also another thing too, and this is true with governments of any stripe, and that is that there could be a faction that Prime Minister Modi didn't even know about that was so upset with this Sikh leader and took action as almost a renegade. Did that happen? I don't know. I'm just saying anything is possible.
Look, anything is possible, but if you see India's track record, right?
Yeah.
India has never indulged in such activities, right? India was attacked. India's parliament was attacked. They had 6/11. Hundreds of people died, right?
Right.
There have been so many terrorist activities against India. Even in the past, when the plane was hijacked by someone sitting in Canada, India has not been taking any action against it because India doesn't believe in that. India doesn't believe in military action. India believes in dialogue, peace. India is a country of Gandhi, right?
That's right. And it is, let's remember, it's the largest democracy in the world.
There's no track record of India doing such activities, using such activities, and I don't think so that anything like that has happened. But if Prime Minister Trudeau has any evidence, he should come out with it.
Absolutely. He must. I mean, he's causing a crisis if he doesn't.
And the prime impact of that would be US-led coalition or partnership, global partnership, which is having a collective fight against China.
That's correct.
That would be the first casualty if this is not controlled.
And the United States has done so much to really make sure that China is is contained, that its influence is contained, especially when you look over in the South China Sea, over down toward the Philippines, near Japan. They have basically a ring of various bases all the way down, and India is critical for this, and so it has to be resolved.
President Biden understands this, even though he had some, I think he has some kind of differences how Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi, has his own vision of India. That vision of India is not aligned with President Biden's vision of India, right? On multiple issues. Human rights is one of them, freedom of press, freedom of religion, another one. But still, President Biden understands the value, importance of India at this critical juncture of global history, where China is aggressively going to, its main goal is to destroy and destruct and become the global world's sole superpower, overcoming US.
That's right, and it's like a Venn diagram. I mean, if you look at this whole thing, what's the big issue? What's the big intersecting issue? It's because we need strategically, for world peace, to have India on board with American vision for how the world behaves. That includes not attacking Taiwan, that includes not attacking Ukraine, that includes sovereign nations being able to behave such. So if one party or one democratically elected official behaves in a certain way, but it's still within the realm, the kind of the overarching realm of democracy, that's fine, because that's how we should work, is to support people if it's democratic.
Yeah. But let's see how it goes.
Right.
US has a lot of role to play into it to bring this relationship on track. US and Canada has been strong allies for long, and let's see what happens.
That's right.
Yeah.
We covered a lot of ground today.
Yes.
What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you again.
Same here.
Right.
And also, do not forget to look over here under Lalit, where we have our other Friday Roundups, and over here at a video that YouTube recommends that you might want to see next. Thank you. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.